So I'm back. John Alite Show. Hit the subscribe button and comment. Give me any suggestions you want. And let's just get into it. Today I'm going to go back into the mob world. And I don't do as many shows as I used to about it. But today is a tribute to a guy named Lou Orio. Lou Orio was an associate of the Genovese family. Later on becomes a made guy to Genovese family. And I meet him in the mid 80s about. He had a problem with a bookmaker, also at the time wasn't a made guy. Later on, he becomes a captain, Ronnie One Trucchio. And I'll speak about him on the next show. Him and Ronnie had a beef over money, over bookmaking. And there was a payphone in the PM pub that was on 84th Street and 101st Avenue we used to stay at. And we ended up buying an interest of the place. And Ronnie was on the telephone. I walk in, and he's yelling back and forth. You can hear somebody on the other line yelling. It's a payphone on the corner of the bar. And I don't know what's going on. And Ronnie hangs up the phone. And he's like cursing the guy out. So this is the first time I hear of who Louis is. I don't know Louis at the time. He's from Bayonne, New Jersey. And at that time, I don't know. But later on, he's going to kill John DiGilio, who ran the waterfront at that time. He's ordered to hit him, so he ends up killing John DiGilio. But at that time, he's screaming at Ronnie, and Ronnie's screaming at him, and he threatens that he's going to come to the PM pub with a couple of guys. And in the meantime, Ronnie starts telling me the story, and then the phone starts ringing again. And again, Ronnie picks up the phone, and the guy's threatening Ronnie. Ronnie hangs up the phone again. Now he rings it again. I pick up the phone this time. And he's screaming at Ronnie. He's not even hearing what I have to say. And I know that he's friendly with another guy, John Alite, that I grew up with. John Alite ends up becoming an informant against Louis, giving information against Louis, giving him information against a guy named Doc that was supposedly the driver of a murder. And he gives up Angelo Prisco, who was a powerful captain in a Genovese family. So Louis ends up actually coming to Ozone Park. He wasn't just talking bullshit. He actually drives down with a couple of guys in a car, and they all get out. When they get out, I'm assuming they're carrying, especially in those days. And we got a lot of guys there at the time. So we got about 6 or 7 guys, and we meet halfway before they get into the bar. We meet right on the curb of the street. And the yelling started again, and we get in between the yelling. I guess before he comes down, he heard that he needs to talk to Jojo Carrazzo. And Jojo Carrazzo's club was a couple blocks down on 101st Avenue, 76th Street. So he goes down to 75th Street, whatever. And he jumps back in the car, and he's threatening Ronnie, and Ronnie's threatening him. And he goes to see Jojo. And whatever happened, Jojo was diplomatic. And Louis comes back with a different attitude. And he comes in, he ends up having a drink with us, talking. Not happy, but he's talking now. And the yelling stopped and the threatening stopped, and he ends up leaving. Now, I don't see Louis again for probably a year or so. And I run into him once or twice. And, you know, we're friendly basis. We're talking now. And he's got some mutual friends that I have. A guy, Andre, also becomes a made guy. Andre knows me since we're kids. Kickboxer, tough guy. Nice guy, tough guy. He was friendly with Johnny Alite for a long time. And afterwards, he stays away from Johnny Alite, especially, obviously, when Johnny starts cooperating. So Andre doesn't have too many good words to say about Johnny Alite. So now, years later, fast forward, I go to prison. And I go to Fairton. And it's in Vineland, New Jersey. It's a medium prison. There's a lot of Philly guys actually there at the time. And Abbalamente's there. He's one of the bosses from Italy who got caught up in a case here in the United States with the pizza connection. And a lot of his story was a lot of guys in his family were being killed. And I mean, he had a big wild case. So we're all in the same prison. Another guy, Jackie D'Onorsio, is in there. Just to give you some names. Jackie D'Onorsio was famous case with the Jersey guys. He wrote a book, Jersey Boys. Funny guy, good guy, really typical funny bastard, and everybody liked Jackie. And Jackie defended himself during their case in Jersey, which was he had the whole jury, judge, everybody laughing when he defended. So he's a character. And when I come into prison, Louis Orio has all kinds of problems with 3/4 of the prison. They don't like him. There's paperwork on him. They're calling him a rat. And Louis said somebody's going to come to jail and he's going to verify that he's good. That somebody was me, but I didn't know at the time anything about Louis's paperwork. And when I come in, he gets me moved in through one of his counselors into his cell. So now me and Louis are cellmates. And we're hanging out with each other. We're working out all the time. Louis in good shape. He's always working out. I'm working out. Me and him both would work out nuts. So it was a good team. We liked each other. We were always hanging out with each other, talking, bullshitting. Louis was a good talker. So, we'd have fun in there. You're in jail, but you make the best of it. And he eventually says, I got to talk to you because I know something's wrong. When I come in, I see everybody staring and no one's telling me what the problem is. And I know, it's not like when we go to prison, we know everybody from the neighborhood, from other neighborhoods, word of mouth, guys sending messages. But nobody's straight out telling me what's going on with Louis. And I didn't know there was all kinds of tension. So when I get to the gym one day and we go outside to the gym, you had to walk through a gate for weapons and whatever on the way to the yard. They had a checkpoint. So when we're going through the checkpoint, Louis is a little paranoid. I'm like, what's the problem? So he had a little knife on him. So there was a spot right before the checkpoint that he put it at. And there was cameras, but there was some blind spots. Anyway, he drops the knife off and we hit the yard. And I go, what the fuck you carrying? Excuse me. What are you carrying a knife for? And he says, I got an issue, these guys. And he starts getting into it for the first time. We're walking the track. And as we're walking, I see guys are shunning him. So I don't really know what the heck's going on still. And I start walking and I know another guy, Bobby Brooksy. His father owned a place called, I believe it was the Bay Club back then. In Brooklyn, we all used to hang out at. He's friendly with Charles, who's a maid guy with our family, with the Gambino family. And me and Charles were always on the phone together. And when I call him, he tells me there's a problem with Brooksy, and Charles knows his father good. And he says, can you handle it? And I said, yeah, what's the problem? And he tells me Louis. He brings up Louis's name right on the phone. So I'm saying to myself, what the heck's going on here? And I go see Jackie Donoso because Jackie stayed with Brooks all the time. And Louis wanted to hurt Bobby Brooks, and Jackie stepped in the picture. So again, to cut through the chase, at night, me and Louis are, selling, and we start talking. He brings out all his paperwork. And he's trying to show me, and I'm not interested in seeing it. I go, Lou, I don't care about the paperwork. I don't care what these guys are saying. I got my own troubles right now. And, I was in at the time, I believe I got like near a 4-year sentence. And I had other pending cases coming. So I was worried about my own cases. I wasn't worried about what was going on with him. I go, Lou, doesn't matter to me what's going on. It doesn't matter if your paperwork is good, bad, the indifferent. I don't know about it. I don't care. He says, he brings up something. He's throwing names at me. Quiet Dom, Donnie Shags, all guys from the Genovese series guys, bosses. He says, they'll account for me. I says, Lou, I don't have an issue with you. I don't want to see your paperwork until somebody in my family sends me a message. I'm good with you. I said, I don't want to read your paperwork. They'll tell me whatever and send me a message. So as we continue working out. And now, people don't know, Louis was a hell of a wrestler. He went to college. He comes from a good family. His father was a big money guy, straight-laced guy to father. His sister married a politician, big guy, a big name guy. I ain't going to bring that up. And the politicians ends up getting jammed up being friendly with Louis and his crew. So it doesn't matter what the politician, it has nothing to do with the story, to be honest. But so me and Louis are working out, and he's fooling around all the time, wrestling with me. And he's a good wrestler. I'm a boxer. I can't wrestle. And so I know he's very good at wrestling. I heard he was some sort of champ as a kid. I don't know if it was college state champ, but he was a hell of a wrestler, and he was in good shape. He worked out all the time, running all the time. Not like a typical lazy guy in jails, because there's a lot of guys that are lazy, but he was, into cardio like me. We'd run a lot. So me and him would run together a lot. We'd run some days 10, 12 miles. We just run the track all day. And then we go do our pull-ups. We did a lot of pull-ups, push-ups, things like that. And I go down to the shop, and there's a guy, Sammy Cigarettes, there. His son, Frankie Steele's a good friend of mine. Sammy, I know since I'm a kid. He used to stay on Liberty Avenue with Tony Lee, and he was around the Fat Andy and these guys since Fat Andy ran that crew back then when he was a captain. And so I knew Sammy. So I go down to Sammy, and he starts talking to me. He starts giving me a little bit of the inside of what's going on in the jail. All the nonsense that you really don't want to hear, but everybody's going to tell you. And Sammy was, obviously a jail guy, did like 30 years, Sammy. Sammy's been maybe more than that. He did time his whole life. So he's giving me all the ins and outs of what's going on in the jail, just so I know. So we're joking, me and Sammy. We're talking about things never change in these prisons. Everybody's always gossiping something. And I go see Jackie, right? So I know Jackie a little bit. I'm not great friends with him, but I know him. I like Jackie. And when I go down there, Louie ends up showing up, and Jackie and him have words. So me and Louie go back to the cell, and I go, Lou, do me a favor, please. Don't have a problem with my friends in front of me. You guys got a problem, don't do it because you put me in a spot. And he's like, he starts telling me a story. I go, Lou, I don't want to hear the story, but he wants to keep telling me the story. He's frustrated. So I said, Lou, I really don't care. Just avoid him. You don't got to talk to him. But he had something to do with, the phone's going off. So he had something to do with Bobby Brooks. For some reason, him and Bobby didn't like each other, and he wanted to hurt Bobby. So Jackie's sticking up for Bobby. Bobby's in good shape. He's a small guy, but he's in good shape. He's there for, I believe it was an armed robbery of some sort. So at the time, Louis goes back, and he ends up down by Jackie again. And we're by a machine shop down there, so it's quiet down there. And there's like some spots, hidden spots, and they start getting into it with each other again, and Louis hits Jackie. He busts his lip, and Jackie's a little older then, and Louis in great shape. There's no way Jackie's going to beat him. And I try to stop him. So I'm getting in between him, and I'm getting hit over the head. I'm getting hit everywhere. And finally, I break him up, and Jackie's saying, this ain't over now. And we end up going back to the cell again. And now I'm mad at Louis. I go, why are you putting me in this spot? And I guess Bobby makes a phone call back to his father. I get a call from Charles. I didn't get a call from Charles. I'm calling Charles. And eventually, whether it was a couple of days later, a week later, nobody's talking to Louis. I mean, completely nobody now. There was nobody basically talking to him already, but now it's worse. And all the Philly guys are against him, too. They're riding with Jackie, who's a Jersey guy. And so Louis, I got to say, though, Louis threatening everybody. Nobody's fighting him. Nobody's stepping to him. They can say what they want. There was a guy, Danny, there, who was a pretty tough guy. I forget Danny's last name. He was an older guy in good shape. And he had a little tanglement with Louis before I got there. I don't know what happened. They got to a little fight, but they didn't get locked up. I don't think anybody knew about it. Danny Kaz, that's what it was. And so Danny Kaz is friendly with me also because he's friends with Johnny Kinnick. And they send word in about Danny. Danny gets friendly with me. So I'm kind of in the middle of everything because I'm friends with a lot of these guys. Now, maybe a month or two go by, and there's a lot of tension in the jail. And when I talk to Charles on the phone, things changed. They're asking me now to hurt Louis. So I don't know if they're getting paperwork out there because you're on telephones. It's limited conversation. So I go see Louis, and I tell him, if you don't stop, I got to change cells. And I have a conversation with him. Now, there's a guy there, there's a black guy there who used to be head of the Tomahawks from Brownsville, Brooklyn. Cato, nice guy, strong with the black community. Everybody respects him, but he's a gentleman. And me and Cato start talking because I'm friendly with Cato through a lot of guys also that I know from Brownsville. From Brooklyn, I grew up in those neighborhoods. So we have some mutual friends. And Cato says, John, you should get out of that cell. So I take his advice and I tell Lou, I'm going to get out of the cell. Louis trying to convince me to stay. I go, Lou, I can't stay in the cell. You got me fighting with everybody. You got me in the middle of this. I don't want to be in the middle of this. I got my own problems. I don't want to be in the hole. I said, I got to fight my own cases coming up. And I wouldn't discuss my cases with anybody, which back then nobody did. You know better not to discuss your personal. I don't care how close you are with them. You just tell them you got issues. Whether he believes that or not is another thing. So when I switch cells, I'm a big handball player. Everybody knows I play handball everywhere. And I'm on the handball court with a Cuban guy, Kono. And Kono's a good guy. And he played handball also. So he tells me Louis ends up coming to him and getting a knife from him. And Kono said, I didn't want to give him the knife, but I gave it to him because he knew I had it. I was on the spot, and I gave him the knife. So I says, what's the knife for? He goes, I don't know. So Louis was like a paranoid guy. So, and he was, very capable. He did a lot of work on the street. He fought, he stabbed guys, killed guys. I know him. So I know he's not just all air. There's a lot of guys that are just air. So I go, okay. And I step to Louis and I tell him, Lou, you're causing me a big problem. And I tell him the truth. They want me to hurt you in here. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to try to hurt you. We're friends. I says, but you're attacking guys. You're threatening guys. And these other crews out on the street, they're not going to allow it. Now, he's a different family than me. So that's one problem. The other problem is I don't know if he's getting word from their own family. Yeah, I heard him. So the next thing I know is Louis telling another guy that knows me. And Kono comes back to me and he tells the other guy, I'm carrying a knife because of John. So Kono comes back and tells me, I don't want to tell you this, but he got the knife because he's paranoid you're going to try to do something to him because of what's coming from the street. And I go, what? I says, this guy kidding me? So I tell Louis, I want to see you. And he goes, I'm going to chow. I go, forget chow. Stay back with me while everybody's at chow so we can talk when nobody's around. I guess he took it as I was going to do something, which I really wasn't going to do anything. But, the street world, no one trusts anybody because, guys kill their best friends. So he goes to the chow hall. And I figure since he's at the chow hall, that he knows I ain't going to do nothing to him. And I know he's got the knife on him. Now, he got the knife through that security somehow. I don't know how he got it through the security, but he got it through. And then, those machines ain't the greatest. He could have put it in his shoe. And maybe it didn't go off. I don't know, because it's low or whatever. So I knock on the chow hall window. And everybody's in the chow hall. It's whatever, 300 guys. I don't know how many guys are there. And I tell him, come out. So he comes outside. And I says, what's up with the knife? And he says, what knife? And I says, don't bullshit me. I know you got the knife, but I don't want to tell him that Kono told me. I said, I know you got the knife. So we start arguing a little bit. And it went from arguing to fighting. And he was trying to wrestle me. And now I know he had the knife on him. I don't know if he tossed it before he came out and, threw it in the garbage. I don't know if they pinched him with the knife. I'm really not sure. But as soon as we started fighting, I'm a boxer. He's a wrestler. So I'm staying away from him. And, I hit him with a pretty good combination. Everybody's watching the fight. The cops are trying to get into us, but there's, I don't know how many guys around us. So they can't get through. Guys are holding them back from getting through. And I knock them down. And I'm not going to go down to get him. I step back and tell him to get up. He wants me to grab him because if I grab him, I know I'm going to be the one on the floor because he's too good of a wrestler. So he gets back up and we start going at it again. And he's a southpaw for the people who don't know. And he's very strong. And, but it wasn't great with his hands. He was okay with his hands, but he wasn't great. And eventually the cops break us up. And that was the end of our friendship. And we both go to solitary confinement. And in solitary confinement, we're in different cells. And they put us in different boxes outside of solitary confinement when we get out that hour a day. You don't get out every day. You're supposed to get out, but you get out a couple of days a week. And he's in another cage-in area. Me and him are talking now. And they're accusing him of writing me up with SIS. Whether that's true or not, I'm not going to put it on him because I never really seen it. Everybody accused him of it. I'm not sure if it was true, not true. And we start talking through the fence. And, after about couple of months in solitary confinement. They tell me they're going to ship me out to another jail. I don't know if he stayed. I think he stayed initially, and then later on they ship him. But we talk. And I go, man, why'd you put me on the spot with this? I asked you 100 times. And then he admitted he had the knife. So I didn't know, I said, what'd you do with the knife? He goes, I didn't want to stab you. I threw it in the garbage as I came out to see you. So, did he throw that knife out because he didn't want to stab me? Did he throw that knife out because he didn't want to catch a new case? Who knows? I mean, I really don't know. And we both went on our business, and we went from meeting as enemies to friends to back to enemies again. And this is the street world, because even if we want to be friends, if we're told to do something, you're supposed to do it. So everybody in the street knows what happened. So, everybody's on the street is happy that happened. And, that I, fought him, I hit him. And now when I get transferred, me and him don't see each other for years. And I come out of prison years later, and I run into him in a place in Margate called Tomatoes. I'm on the street, and I'm walking towards him. I don't really know it's him. And he's walking with 3 guys. And one of the guys is a big kid. The other kids were average guys. But the one kid was big weightlifting kid. And I go back in Tomatoes, and it's my friend's place, Carmen's. And I go, and I'm sitting on one side of the bar, standing on one side of the bar. It's packed. The place is packed. I just got home. And 2 of the guys come over, and one of them throws a haymaker at me and tries to sucker punch me. So I slid under the punch, and he couldn't throw a punch. I mean, he threw a wide punch, and he hit a girl. So I was joking afterwards because he hit the girl. She didn't go down. And so a big thing pursued, and everybody, they took off. And then I see on the other side, it was Louis that sent them, because they ran to the other side. And later on, my friend Carmen, this is a guy that's always telling me, don't fight. He got locked up because of me, because I hurt a guy real bad. Years ago in my lake, I tied him up. I broke him up bad, broke his jaw. I went to jail for it. And Carmen is telling me, why didn't I hurt him? I started laughing. I go, you're the guy that got locked up because of me last time, and you begged me not to take the weight that I would take it for you. I said, now you're telling me to hurt a guy inside your joint when I just got out of jail. I says, and if I would have did, you would have told everybody I'm starting fights in your place. Anyway, the cops come. We both take off. We both leave. And me and Louis got hard feelings now. And the guy that ends up swinging at me didn't know it was me, because he didn't see me since he's a kid. And I knew the guy used to come on my property all the time. So he takes off thinking I'm going to kill him. And I'm not going to kill the guy. So a guy that knows me calls me, and he says, I forget his name. He says, that was so-and-so that hit you. I go, he didn't hit me. He hit a girl. I says, but really, was that him? No, I know him since he's a kid. And I says, tell him, don't worry about it. I ain't going to hurt him. But he didn't believe me. So he took off, and he went on and he moved, I think, to Virginia or something. He goes to Virginia, and I get the message from my friend. I go, would you tell this idiot, because I know him since a kid, there's no hard feelings. He didn't hit me anyway, but it's not a big deal. I'm not mad at him. Tell him to come back. I ain't do nothing. But see, in that world, nobody trusts anybody. So I guess he thought I was going to kill him or do something serious to him. And now I don't see Louis again. And I'm sending messages to him because I'm mad. And he's down in Long Branch now. Now, I don't know that at the time. But there's a girl that's walking with him, Gail. And I know the girl. We're friendly for a lot of years. She's friends with all my friends. And at one time, she was doing a TV show. And I'm walking with this other guy who's actually a chiropractor. But he's a big guy. He looks like he does look like a gangster. He's a strong guy. He's 6'2", great shape. And we start walking towards Louis and the girl, Gail. And all of a sudden, he just bolts running. And I guess he thought I was going to shoot him. And I look at Gail and I go, why the hell did he run? And she goes, please, John, don't do nothing. Don't kill him. I go, Gail, what the hell are you talking about? And she goes, I know you came here to shoot him and this and that. I says, I didn't even know he was here. I had no idea that I was going to run into him. And so now me and Louis got this thing going on. And in Long Branch, there was a pool place that on the summer, there was pool parties. And I ended up going to the pool party with a couple of guys, some of them ex-gangsters that everybody knows. And there's probably about 7 or 8 of us. And then I see Louis there. He's on the other side of the pool, and he's with about 10 guys. One big guy, monster. and we're staring at each other. And then one of the guys come over to me, and I said, tell him to come over. I want to talk to him. So he comes over, and I tell him, I'm not here because I knew you were here. And I tell him, I'm not going to kill you. And at the time, my parole officer called me and said, somebody called and said I tried to kill him. And I go, it's not true. I says, oh, that's not true at all. And after that incident, they said I was laying on him at Gold's Gym. There was a Gold's Gym down there. And I tell the police, and I tell my parole officer, check the cameras. It wasn't me. I wasn't down there. So right after that incident is when me and Louis meet at the pool party. And I said to him, listen, you're paranoid. I know you since forever. I know how you get. You're paranoid. I wasn't trying to kill you that night. The guy wasn't a gangster. Anyway, we end up shaking hands. We have a drink with each other. We make up. And now we're friends again. And bygones are bygones and whatever. I go, get on with your life. Do whatever you're doing. I don't care. I'm not involved with that life anymore. I'm finished. And so we shake hands. We see each other a couple of times after that. We got something to eat one time. Like I think he had a burger place or something. And I seen him outside the burger place. And we grabbed a coffee. We got something to eat. And things were good. And, if somebody seen me that I know, we sent messages, hello, goodbye. And that was it. It was bygones, bygones. And he started telling me a lot about John Alite. He hated John Alite. So I don't know exactly what John Alite did to him, but they used to be good friends. And then COVID hit, and his mother got sick, and he got sick, and they both died. He ended up dying. And this guy's in great shape. So I guess whatever happened, it just hit him wrong. And I'm not a big believer in COVID. I mean, I believe it's like any other thing, like the flu. People die and people get diseases. People get hit by buses and cars, and there's accidents. And just unfortunately, he lost his life. And I gave a condolence on one of my shows when I found out he passed away. And overall, he was a good guy. I mean, we all lived a shitty life, and if he could not redo his life, I guarantee you he would have redone his life also. And it's a shame. He did a lot of suffering in prison. He did a lot of suffering in life in general, and he ended up losing his life like that. So, but these are the things that go on in that street world, and it's very hard for people to understand why I'm against that life so much, because you don't know who you could trust, who you can't, if your best friend's going to kill you, if your best friend's going to rat on you. If you end up with, like he had, Johnny Alite was his good friend who ends up, as an informant against him, they hated him. He ended up hating him. He gave up Doc. He gave up Angelo Prisco. So, and the end up is he ends up passing away outside of the life. But in retrospect, when you look back and say, is this world or this life worth it? It's just not. He had nothing but misery, being, locked up constantly, in and out of jail. Misery with guys calling him a rat. Misery protecting his name. Misery with, he's involved in killing people. So fighting with me as a friend, then not a friend, then a friend, not a friend, being friends again. It's just a terrible existence. And that's why I'm always talking about, the guys like him or me or any of us that were, putting in work. It's just a lousy existence. And that's why I'm against it. That's why I talk to kids about stay away from this life. If somebody could tell me something good in this life, and you think that you're going to end up in the street for, living a long life on the street, you're not. And anybody lies to you, they're using you. And if you have half-witted, there's so many ways to make a good living and do the right thing and enjoy your life and do something positive for young kids that are out there. So my message is always the same. Forget that life. Go to church. Believe in God. Have faith. Look at life through, reality, truth, and have self-respect for yourself, dignity, pride, and do the right thing. Don't take the shortcuts. It's have confidence in yourself that you can be successful. And if you choose to be successful and don't quit, you're going to be a winner. And I tell everybody, and I've said it on when I had Dennis on my show from the UFC, do you know how to lose? And it's a strange question. And people always ask, why do I always ask that? Because to be able to be a winner, you got to know how to lose. And the more times you lose, the more times you know you have the drive to be a winner. So although life's about struggling, eventually, if you don't give up in the struggle, you're going to be a winner. And that's my message. Be that winner. Don't give up. Don't quit. And you'll be success in whatever you do. God bless you. And God bless America. And go vote. See you guys soon. Comment. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks for being here.